Hi, I'm Kat and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to talk about my quest to learn to draw caricatures. I've been enjoying art as a hobby on and off for most of my life, but quite intensively during the pandemic these past couple of years. Um, and one thing I'm struggling with is likenesses. So I've got a reasonable understanding of the proportions of the human face, and I can draw faces that look like human faces and look correct, but they don't necessarily always look strongly like the person that I'm trying to draw. Uh, so I thought that studying caricature would actually just be a way to turbocharge my progress on this. That it would really force me to see the details that make each face unique and capture them capture them in an exaggerated fashion, which will sort of help pull the rest of my face drawing towards capturing them correctly once I'm seeing them correctly, I guess. It's a theory anyway. And I also really want to learn how to draw caricatures because I feel like it's a great party trick to have for friends and family, just to be able to, whip out a piece of paper, 5 minutes, black marker, and give them a picture of themselves. It's yeah, however flattering that picture is. I think it's just a fun thing that people like. I've always liked it when I've been at parties and there's been a proper caricature artist available. So if I could bring a snippet of that joy to more informal gatherings, I think that would be fun. Any which way. So to get started with this, what I need two things. I need some learning resources, which because my main uh, venue for learning things is YouTube. It's going to be YouTube videos. And I also need some drawing materials and to figure out what's sort of the best pen, pencil, marker, paper, what have you, to give me just the best running start at creating caricatures. Apologies for the audio in this next section, folks. It was filmed on my webcam, and yeah, which turned out to be a little bit flaky in that regards. So I've got two main resources that I've been looking at to help me on my way. And the first one is this Proco caricature course by, what's the chap's name? Court Jones. Um, yeah, so this is a free video playlist on YouTube, but there's also a premium version of this course on the main Proco site, which has a lot more videos and a lot more critiques, which I've not yet purchased because I'm tight-fisted. And also, I feel like I'm probably not good enough at this yet to commit to investing the money in myself to improve it. But never say never. Anyway, this course takes you through the process of developing a detailed and highly exaggerated caricature through there's multiple steps and iterations of the process. So like first you do a thumbnail and then work up on those thumbnails into a rough sketch, and then after you've got a rough sketch you sort of abstract it to make sure that you've got all the structure right even though it's exaggerated, and then after that draw up a final sketch. So there's multiple steps, a lot of opportunity to be thoughtful in what decisions you're making, and making sure you're getting it right by trying out a lot of different things. So I feel like and there's a lot as well as that. There's a lot of interesting approaches to the emphasis, finding what to emphasize. For example, I think there's one which is um, using a checklist to figure out what to exaggerate, or exaggerating by using an animal, or exaggerating by comparing the person you're caricaturing to somebody whose face is quite different, and using those to the contrast to emphasize the differences. That's there's a lot of really cool interesting stuff in here that I'm going to try and work through. And then the other resource that I've been using is the Rouser World YouTube channel, which is, I feel like, pretty much at the exact other end of the caricature spectrum. So instead of taking lots of time and multiple iterations to create a detailed rendering and trying out various things on your way to the right one, this chap shows you how to do like a one and done quick sketch in sort of 10 to 15 minutes. It captures the lightness confidently. Um, yeah, first time. And I'd say that it also captures the lightness more kindly. So, like, yeah, there's sort of an exaggeration in it, um, but maybe a bit less, or at least maybe less of the kind of exaggeration that gets you thumped by the subject of the sketch. So, that's what I meant by kind of, more kind exaggeration. Um, so the quick sketch approach is one that I've seen done more often at events, weddings, balls, and the like. And it's a really impressive sort of virtuoso skill, and it almost seems like magic when you're watching it done. Sitting over a guy's shoulder and watching him turn one of your friends into like 15 lines and a bit of shading, and it still looks like just like them. So I'm not sure which of the two approaches is the best for me on my learning journey. I'm tempted to start with this more slow, measured approach from the Proco course, because then I can sort of figure out what I'm doing. I can make my decisions in slow motion, and sort of figure out if they're right or wrong, and then if they're wrong, backtrack and carry on down a different path. So that then at least I've got a bit more experience and knowledge before I try the quick sketch approach, where you have to kind of have that have already done that learning, so it's almost intuitive when you decide what lines to make in permanent marker that's never going to come out on a sketch that you're doing in 5 minutes. So I feel like start slow, work up to quick sketch is the approach I'm going to use. Okay, time to think about materials. For the Proco course, I'm probably just going to be using a pencil and an eraser, but for when I want to try getting into the more quick sketch style drawings, I need to find a good marker that works for me. And this is the field, and I chose these markers to test based on the fact that they were either in my house already or were the only decent black marker sold at my local stationery store. So yeah, these are them. So let's go through the also rans first. Got the Winsor Newton brush marker here. Nice thick feel in the hand. Got a chisel tip and a brush tip. So there's plenty of line variation to be had from both ends. It does bleed through. It does put down some nice thick ink when it's new, but I'm not quite sure how long I've had the black one for, so please don't judge it by this. It is running out, but yeah, the blue here is to show how much ink gets put down when it's any good. Like, my main problem with this is that it's just got a super bendy tip. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm in control of the curve when I'm trying to put more pressure or direction on it to get a thin, thick variation. It's so bendy it almost feels like it's dragging behind or going off at a different angle, and it's not great. So sorry, you're out. Next up, in the also rans, Sharpie permanent marker fine point. Some line variation can be got, but not as much as with any of the brush pens. It does bleed through. Its main advantage is that they're really easy to get hold of. You can get them anywhere, and they're quite inexpensive compared to some of the others. But yeah, this guy's just not doing it for me, so sorry, Sharpie. And another one of the also rans is the Staedtler permanent Lumacolor. This is just a plain bullet tip felt tip pen. I have a whole load of these, so I thought it would be good if this worked for me, because then I could go through again a lot of inexpensive pens during practice and not really feel bad about it. But yeah, line variation almost nil. Not a huge fan. Okay, and now on to the definite possibilities. Ones I'll be keeping in my tool set to try out a little bit more as I learn more. So the Tombow ABT. This is the Tombow brush pen with a brush tip and a small bullet tip. Again, the one I've been practicing with was kind of running out because it's old, so I've used a coloured variation of the same pen just to show how nice and thick the line goes down when it's relatively new. Yep, there's line variation to be had aplenty, and unlike the ridiculously floppy Winsor Newton brush marker, this is a brush nib that stands up for itself and is, I feel, more responsive to what I'm asking it to do. So I'm definitely keeping this in my kit. And another one for the definite maybes is this Pentel N860 permanent marker. It smells like nobody's business, which is possibly why I'm a little against it, but it gives great difference in line thickness, in strokes, depending on which angle you come at the chisel tip with. So yeah, it's a chisel, and can get variation within a single stroke by changing the angle, much as with a calligraphy pen. It does bleed through, unfortunately, and yes, it's very stinky, but I wanted to keep this guy in the rotation because I think when I'm practicing it'll be interesting to have a good chisel as well as a good brush pen to play with, to see what differences in styles those give, and maybe find out which one I like best when I'm trying a little better than my current state. Yes, I do apologise for the quality of the drawing on these. Please remember this is the before video, not the after video. Anyway, the ultimate winner, I think, for me is this Pentel brush pen, and it's old and the cap is broken, so I only have the cap interior here, but it does the job. And this is refillable with cartridges, but I also refill those cartridges with a random selection of inks from my collection, and I use a syringe to refill the cartridge. So I don't actually know what ink is in it at the moment. I do know, I just know it's definitely not the Pentel ink it comes with. But the amount of sort of line thickness difference you can get on this thing is great, and it goes down smooth as long as you're on a flat surface. I did try with it at an angle, and it was really just not putting a great deal down in that situation, so you have to make sure you keep the flow coming. But yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, she's got a mustache because I really did that line badly and crossed it out. So yeah, and whatever ink I've got in it, it does not come through. So I think that this is probably going to be my primary pen for learning. Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of my line quality, but this guy hides a multitude of failings in that regard. So that's that, folks. I've got my videos and channels to watch. I've got my black markers all set up to play with. I've got a hungry cat who needs to be fed. And I'll check back in with you guys in a couple of months after some caricature practice so you can see my progress, and I'll let you know how that goes. Until then though, have a smashing day. Alright, come on, let's go. You guys still here? Go home, the movie's over.